All right, welcome to the latest episode of the Coleman Power Organic Fitness Podcast. I have my latest guest here in front of me, Danielle. She is a nomad mom, as she calls herself, and most certainly homeschooling her child and showing and educating people in a lifestyle of how to do it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be on here. I'm excited to get to share everything and what we've been kind of creating around.
Yeah, well, we've been following each other definitely for over a year, just through, I suppose, a mutual friend, day of ours, and in California, and get the power of social media in itself. But I suppose I want you to tell myself and the listeners of the likes of this show a little bit about, I'm going to say, maybe our background and how you got into it, and then we can kind of go into home or unschooling as opposed to homeschooling. But yeah, well, let's go from there.
So, I've always been into just healing modalities, learning different things, being an entrepreneur. And about 4 years ago, I want to kind of get a little farther back here. 7 years ago, when I decided to have my kid, I had come into this realization that I wasn't going to do things the same way. I did not want to put my kid in public school. I was already kind of one of those that was against the grain and doing my own entrepreneurship lifestyle. And so I decided that I was going to do things different. So I started a digital marketing journey in that by trying to find things that were going to work and align with me. And you're going to laugh when you hear the end of this story, because I actually started with this company that I got into called the Magic. Go ask your dad. Go ask your dad, please. Sorry. So I got into this company that I got with called the Magic, and it was a water company. And I started working with them, but something didn't quite feel right about what I was doing. And the way they kind of portrayed it, it was all about just making money and showing that there's an opportunity, but not actually talking about it. So I shifted my mindset and I was like, you know what? I can't do this. This is not what I'm going to do. So I shifted and I went into building a digital agency. And I did that for a couple of years. And then I ended up, and I had my baby and I was getting going on my business, but it was still kind of taking some of my time. And I didn't mind it though. It wasn't too much of the time. And then COVID hit and my business crashed. One of my clients was a cooking coach and he offered me a job working for them. And basically what I was doing is I was teaching people about how cookware affects our bodies and what actually comes out of cookware and all this different stuff. So I dove deep into that for a while and I got into selling that and I was really good at it. And I loved it, but I was always gone. I was always cooking for people. I was coming home at 10 o'clock at night. It'd take me anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to drive to people, 3 hours to 6 hours on a show, and then driving home. And then I'd come home and my poor baby is 10 o'clock at night crying for his mother. And I was just like, no, this is not the lifestyle I want. This is not what I wanted to do at all. And hold on. I didn't want to do that. So I decided that I was going to do things differently. And I went in and I said, I'm going to quit my job. I went back to the people who taught me how to do the agency. And they were on to brand building now. So what they called ghost commerce, basically sell money online courses. And I dove into that for 2 years while we decided I was going to sell my house. And because I told my husband, I'm like, I'm done. Not just that business, but everything. We sold the house, packed everything up, and we decided we were going to go travel with our kid. And we decided we were going to learn to sail. So we were just all right, here we go. We're going to go learn to sail. We're going to get up in a camper. We're going to go all the way across the country from Oregon to Florida. And we're going to go learn to sail. And in this process, I'm learning how to do online stuff. I decided we got a small little sailboat and we started learning on that and came with that. And I started doing my business. A couple of years of trying, it still didn't quite align with me. And my things were kind of going, but it wasn't quite exactly what I wanted to do still. And I wasn't growing the way I wanted. And I shifted to another company that actually did the same thing, but it felt for some reason, there was a different alignment feeling. So I thought I was going to do that, went into that for a little bit, and then it still wasn't quite exactly what I wanted. And I still felt I'm just lost. I feel like I'm still trying to find myself. And I also still had a friend who in the process of this a couple years, he had asked me to help him build an expedition company in Africa to help people hike Mount Kilimanjaro, which I had done years ago, which was one of the sparks of inspiration to be a traveler in life. Because when you start doing cool things like hiking one of the 7 summits, you're just like, I want to keep going. So I'd started this worked with this expedition company, trying to build it up, did all like the back end things. And then I had put myself out to a friend who was a travel agent. And she actually was like, why don't you just become a travel agent? Because then you have access to all the travel agents. I'm like, you're right, but I really don't want to book everybody. She's like, well, there's other ways to make money with it. I'm like, all right, cool. So I jumped into that. And then I had, because I had already been like in deep in this world schooling community, I had a world schooling mama come into my realm last year, and she jumped on my team. We became best friends. And it was funny because last year, now kind of shifting again back into this whole what I'm doing, we got a small boat. We learned on that. We sold it because we're like, we want to go full time. We traveled around for a while in the States, got rid of the camper. Then after we got rid of our camper, we got into a minivan and went into Mexico because we weren't in quite alignment, all coming in with like this alignment stuff. Everything has to be in alignment, right? We went through Mexico in a minivan, traveling around that. And at the end of our 3 months, we spent 3 months traveling Mexico. And at the close to the end, we were like, we're getting tired and we need to like make a shift. And my house that I had, I had sold it the first year after I had moved, but it wasn't in full sales. But it finally like resold and I got paid out. And all of a sudden we were like, I'm in alignment. Like, let's buy a boat right now. So we bought a boat down in Guatemala. We drove from Mexico to Guatemala, and we like went and found this beautiful 41-foot boat, and we absolutely loved it. We were like, we're going to buy this. We're going to go get our stuff from Mexico. We'll see you back in 3 weeks, because we had 3 more weeks left of our stay, and they had a little family trip. So we went and did that. And then we started like kind of doing this thing and sailing around. We sailed Honduras. We sailed Belize. We went back to Honduras. We actually went back to the States for just a month to come visit. And then at the end of the year, we started making our way from Honduras at the beginning of sailing season around to Providencia, Colombia. And then we went to Panama. When we got to Panama, we needed like a reset. So we went on the marina and we messed up by putting some of the marina water into our tanks and didn't even think about the water like situation so much. And we all started brushing our teeth with the water. It got us all sick. We all got a horrible stomach bug. So, of course, what happens next? My girlfriend, who also jumped into my travel business, also had been in the same business I had started with originally 7 years ago. This water business. And I never disliked the product. It was not the product that I disliked. It was actually just the way it was being presented, how people were sharing it and everything like that. And she came at me and she was like, hey, I just want you to know, if you're worried about your water, here's this opportunity right here. And, you know, they're doing this special sale this month. They don't ever do this. And everything was like in a full alignment for it. And I was just like, you know what? You're right. Because I cannot keep traveling and have bad water for myself. So, and my family, we've got to like, I'm always the kind of person, I don't buy health insurance. I buy health investments to be proactive for my insurance. So we bought this water and we've been doing that, and it's been a building thing for us. And now it's so beautiful because over this last year, since I've already been world schooling my son. And we've been like diving deep into World School Hubs. I actually took a World School Hub creator course recently. And I've been thinking like, how am I going to integrate all these things? How do I like put all this stuff together? Okay. And so as all this chaos is going on in my story here, it all comes into now I'm actually working on creating a World School Water Hub that's called Water is Life. And so out of all of my experiences between the diving, the sailing, the sustainable fishing, and now the sustainable life of water, I'm pulling it all in and I'm creating a World School Water Hub on boats. So people are going to come onto my boat, or right now, because my boat is small, I'm going to be working with friends who have charter boats. And we're going to create, I'm actually going to be creating my first program coming up in November here, where we bring people on. It's going to be a 7-day experience where they can learn about the marine life and how we can better be sustainable to the ocean, learn about how we can be more sustainable in our fishing skills. My son is actually going to be my son and my husband are both going to lead the fishing program. So that's going to be really fun. And then we're also going to have like a sailing day, and we're going to do all about sustainable water and bringing in this beautiful water project that I've got going, because sustainability is life. Water is life, and we really need to be more sustainable for our future and everything that's going on. So in a nutshell, it has been like such this weird, crazy journey that's been like going around in so many different realms. But I love it because it all flowed in and it's finally in such a beautiful alignment. And then this last couple of weeks really set in what I was meant to do with all this, because I actually just spent the last 2 weeks getting into a deep detox healing cleanse for my mother-in-law, who had some health journeys of her own that she had coming out of the hospital. And I got to just go and dig in and bring out all the modalities I've had over the years. And she received all of them. And it set in for me, like, I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing that feels good for me. I'm here to heal people. I'm here to impact people with water and life and showing how to thrive, and just really bringing that into a whole nother level for my son, for my family, and just for others around the world. And it's been such a cool aligning journey. I've in some sense, I'm like, when I listen to myself, I'm like, man, it's been this way, that way, this way, that way. But like now I'm like, I'm head on. I've got what I want and what I'm doing. And it's turning into such a beautiful thing.
Oh my God. I'm just going to say it's an amazing story, and you're such an interesting individual. But I knew straight away when I did a connected with you first over a year ago, I was like, oh my God, I have to get this woman on and chat to her in more detail throughout the likes of a show, because I want to share the likes of your message. And it's such a unique story that you have. Do you know what I mean? There's from going to selling your house to getting and learning about sailing, buying a boat, and everything else in between, and juggling now the likes of a 7-year-old child. And I want to further unpack the likes of the whole realm of homeschooling, or unschooling is what you're calling it. Like, how is that working? And fill us in a little bit more about that.
Okay, so it's funny because I actually had someone recently tell me, like, stop saying unschooling, because they're like, it's a better term. And I was like, they're like, what about child-led learning? And actually that stuck with me a little bit. And I was like, you know what? That's a way better way. Because honestly, when I look at it, so I've seen a lot of homeschoolers, and there are a lot of people, and I guess it also kind of sometimes depends on where they are, what that looks like for them. Some may have to follow a particular curriculum. Thankfully, I'm living in a state that I don't have to. We put an affidavit in that we are, in control of his learning, and we get to figure that out. And it's cool because I've really adopted the child-led learning, where I get to like kind of bring things to life of whatever my son really likes to learn. So as he puts interest in things, like right now, he's super intrigued in fishing. And so we've been learning all things fishing. He has these reef books. He's all about spearfishing. He's learning about his lures. We learn about different knots, at least when we're on the boat. Right now, actually, since we've been on land, he's been learning his own style of making a hustle and flexing entrepreneurship right now. And it's been beautiful because like he actually, when we first got to the States, he did a lemonade stand with his friend, and they freaking killed it. They made $100 in an hour, the two of them. Okay. And so it sparked this thing in his head that he was like, I'm going to keep going with this. And it was beautiful because so we went to my mother-in-law's afterwards, and he and his mom was like, I'm going to do another lemonade stand. And I'm like, I know you want to do a lemonade stand, but right now, Dad and I both, like, we were like, my husband was fixing my mother-in-law's house, and I was fixing her. So we were both like, we can't really take you out to go too far right now. And on top of it, we were in an area where sometimes, like, some places it's okay, but some places, some people get weird about it. So we were like, this is not that place. So what he did instead is my mother-in-law does painted rocks, and she gave him some of her rocks to sell. So he put one crate with her rocks. He put another crate where he was making his own art and had all his art out. And then he had a table next to it where he was making his own art as he's sitting there on the driveway waiting to sell it. He sold $130 worth of art that he had made and she made in just a couple of days. And I was just like, dude, you are on fire right now. Like, you're going for it. And then it was even funnier because we're coming home back to my mom's and we stop at a farmer, like a little farm stand, and we see a box of lemons. And it's way bigger than the box that like the way he had last time. So he's like, Mom, I'm going to buy this box of lemons and we're going to go do it again. And I was like, yeah, baby. And so he's like, yesterday he he squeezed all those lemons with his papa and they both like got it all done. And so today, actually, after we're done, I'm taking, him out. He's going to go do this. And it was hysterical because the other day when I had said something to him, I was like, hey, bud, you still got to get some schoolwork done. And he looks at me and he's like, Mom, I'm doing school right now. And he like pointed to him, like all his art and him selling his stuff. And I'm like, you're absolutely right, dude. Like, this is what it's about. It's following what they love, what piques their interest, and helping bring that to life. So like even right now, we were talking to him, we're like, hey man, we need to start like getting serious. Like if you're going to keep doing this, you need to have like a balance sheet of everything. Like, so you know what you're making and what you're putting in, and you can keep track of things. And it's like you have to find those things that they are interested in and what really sparks them so that you can bring it to life, and that's really to me what it's all about, is like finding those different things, also thinking outside of the box of like what you can do also to bring in other interests. Like right now, the other day we started this, I found this book bundle. It was all about the brain. And we started reading it and he picked up certain things. Like one of them was about mindful eating. And he took that in. And so he goes and grabs blueberries out of the fridge and he comes and sits down on the bed and he puts his covers over and he's just sitting there eating. And my stepdad goes, he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm mindfully eating. And he's just sitting there and he like looks at me. He's like, Mom, are you going to come sit and eat with me? And I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I sit down and we start talking about all the things that we had learned with this mindful eating. And so the best thing I can say is when it comes down to like understanding homeschooling and child-led learning, follow what they love. Bring forth things that, of course are going to help them think out of the box and do different things. Don't just follow this, I have to do this set curriculum. They have to do all these specific things. Because I think that's the hard part too, is like when I first started the idea of homeschooling, I was like, they got to do workbook pages. He's got to do this and that. And it became a fight for us. And it was not fun. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Like, I don't know if I can go through all 12 years of school like this. And I feel like there's a lot of parents that they put this mindset on them that they have to like push these specific things. But the thing is if you let them lead you into what they like and you can find intriguing ways to bring forth all the other stuff, it opens up the doors and they love it. And the idea is to get them to love to learn. Like even right now with my World School program, my son and I were just talking the other day and I'm like, hey buddy, so on one of these days we're doing sustainable fishing. Do you want to be the one to help lead the program? And he's like, absolutely. He's like, I want to teach people about these lures. I want to go take them paddleboard fishing. I want to go do this, this, and this. And I'm like, cool. So we're going to work on building a program and you get to, write it all out and we're going to put it all together. And he loves it. He loves that idea and it's exciting to him, and I think that's kind of that's the goal at the end of the day. It's not about having these amazing grades. It's about having them follow what they love and what feels good for them. That to me, you're winning. Like as a parent and as just watching your kid grow and sparkle, like, oh my God, I feel like the proud mama moments have been hitting me left and right lately. And I'm just like, I have happy tears all the time, I feel like lately. So
Oh my God.
that's my biggest take on that.
Like even find it totally fascinating, and I'm someone that's actually dyslexic by trade, as I call it, and I learn differently as well. I have that entrepreneurial, being someone who's self-employed, streak or trait in me as well, and looks like that your son has as well, has really, I suppose, grown towards to do that, right? Selling the likes of, I'm going to say, the likes of lemonade, and literally again making artwork, and literally it is part of school because it touches on, I'm going to say, as I said, business, entrepreneurship, and the likes of sustainability of the fishing. There's geography thrown in the mix there as well. And it's hands-on. It's using the left side of the brain, which is not as much as was used in typical school settings where we're told to sit down. And I definitely didn't enjoy school as much as other people often mention it's the best time of our lives. I much prefer to work. I nearly work every day, if you want to just call it like that. And I love it. And that's the idea we have to try find. And you're literally doing that with the likes of your son. So what do you, I suppose, was it always, were you homeschooled, Danielle, by any chance? Or just how did you get into it?
No, I was not even homeschooled. So I went through school, and I actually jumped schools throughout my high school years, and my last year, last 2 years of schooling, I actually did charter school. And so because I told my mom, I'm like, after jumping, I had been in one school for so many years with all the same people, but high school came around and moved and I lost all my friends. And I went and lived with my dad, and I was there for 2 years with him. And then I came back, and then my junior year, I started, and I was like, I told my mom, I'm like, I'm not happy. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go to school and try and mesh with everybody anymore. I'm just not feeling it. So she allowed me to do the charter, where it was more like, you're doing your own thing. And I got to finish early. Um, and then I jumped straight into massage school. I moved in with my boyfriend, which is now my husband. We've been together for 17 years. And yeah, it's been a long journey growing with him. And so at that time I moved in with him and I started massage school. I actually didn't even, like, I went through massage school, but I've also done multiple other businesses in between, just because I knew that I couldn't do it as a full-time thing. For some reason, like, I love it. Again, I'm a natural born healer, and I'm not to toot my own horn, but I'm an amazing therapist. Like, I can truly feel what's going on inside, and I can really dig deep to heal people. But I knew that wasn't like the full calling of what I was going to stay with. And I've always been I've always been the black sheep of the family. And I've never been the kind to do things normal. And then my husband and I, before we had my son, we spent 2 years just traveling. And it just kind of shot for me, because we'd done a couple of trips. One year was Costa Rica. The next year we backpacked Panama to Costa Rica. And on that trip, I had met a friend who lived in Texas. And my husband and I sparked on the idea of really traveling. Because that was when he was like, hey, you want to go hike Kilimanjaro with me, just out of nowhere? And I was like, I don't know about that. Like, that's not, I don't know. But then, like, he asked us again when we saw him in person. And I was like, you know what? You make the plans. I'll give you the money. We'll do it. And so we did. And doing that trip set me off on this completely different mindset of, like, what life could be like, and traveling and doing stuff. And we actually traveled with that same guy to New Zealand. We went to Mexico. We went to Amsterdam with him. We've become long-term friends and traveled many places. And finally, after 2 years, though, of never really even being home, I finally told my husband, I'm like, I think I'm getting ready to, like, settle down and have a kid. Like, I'm getting tired. I love to travel, but I'm ready to settle a little bit. And so we actually got in this mindset to find a house, but we didn't end up finding a house. We ended up building a house in Oregon. And so we started from the ground up of nothing but a home site approval, and had to put everything that we had on our property, ripping out all the stuff that we needed to clear the way, because we only got so much space for where our house was allowed to be. And so we did that. And as in the process, I was just like, I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to do the same thing with my kid. I'm not going to, I don't want to be this parent who's always running around. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my stepdad was always working. But I didn't feel that same, like, I want to do the same path. I'm going to do something different. I want both parents to be involved. I want us both to be really, like, living together and truly, like, embracing it. And especially after the travel, like, we've done, we had our kid and we kind of did little bits of travel, but then we bought a little camper and we went for a month-long trip together through Montana. And that was like okay, this is my wake-up call. This is what I want to go do again. I don't want to go and keep, like, working, because I was working, like I said, at the time I was working. I had my in between building the house the COVID thing happened, and that's when I lost my job. And then started working as like cooking coach job. And it was a great job. I loved it. I love the health aspect of it again, but I hated the fact I was gone. And my husband was also water tending for the fires, and I hated that he was gone, and I would be single momming it for a while, and it killed me inside. And I was just like, this is not the path for me at all. This is not the path for my kid. This is not what I want. So I dug in, and I've been actually digging deep on world schooling groups. I've been talking to multiple families, and I've just been really like getting myself involved in the community of people who are I want to do the same. And I actually, even now, I do lives all the time with families who are traveling so that I can inspire more families to like look outside of the box. Like there is no cut and dry one way. Not everybody has to do it how I do it and go all in. Some people do it part-time. Some people do it full-time. Some people are, half and half. Like there's always a way if you want to get into it. And, it's just getting yourself out of this conditioned mindset, realistically, because we've been conditioned that you have to get a job. You have to send your kid to school. You have to follow this way, and they have to go get a career. And the reality is it's not going to be that way. It doesn't. Like, there's so much more when you open up and you think about how things can be changed. And actually, I got really inspired recently because I've joined the Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi mastermind lately. And I was listening to one of their coaching sessions about like careers and entrepreneurship. And it really blew my mind because it like made total sense. Like here you go, and you're told to be conditioned. You have to go to school, get a good paying job, and you have this job, okay? And you're stable, you're okay. Once in a while you get a pay raise and you're like, woo, good bump, right? And then you like get stable again and you get another raise, woo, good bump again. And you're like, okay, and then you keep doing that. Whereas like you ride this entrepreneurship lifestyle, and it's like literally it is an up and down thing, because you're going to have like these good moments where things are flying high, and then you may struggle because you have like, maybe a dry spell or something happens, or you struggle with something, and then you go do it again and you're feeling really good. So it's an up and down ride as an entrepreneur. Okay. But what really brought it into perspective for me was they brought it back to the heart. And the heart, if you were to go and be put on a heart monitor in the hospital, what do you want to see? You want to see this up and down, right? Because it means that you're actually living. But if you see the flat line, you're dead. You're not really living. And it just like blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the right path right now. I'm doing the right things. I'm taking the right path. I'm showing my this. They're mind blown when they think that way, because they're like, oh, I wish I could do this. And I'm like, you can do all of these things. You can make it happen, but you have to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to dig in. You have to like get around, like put yourself near people that are doing it. Put yourself around it and go dig in. Like,
Oh my
so
God.
it's been an interesting journey.
Such a great analogy about literally if you were to plug yourself into a heart monitor and to see the beats going up and down, as opposed to the flat line, which typically means, for those who don't know, you're dead. You're not going great. And even if you have a beep, that's only a murmur. You literally want to be upping and downing on a regular basis to feel alive. Jesus, that's hit me like a bombshell. I love that analogy. Well done. And there's loads of people that are either on the fence or entrepreneurs, or would like to even start a side hustle for themselves. But I'd love to unpack a couple of different things about areas of your expertise. I say, Danielle, I know you've done, I'm going to say, a lot of cooking and coaching with individuals. Like, could you further expand? Because that's something that's very topical to a lot of people, like the cooking ware, and what are the best ones or what are the ones to strictly stay away from?
Oh, okay. So when I started doing that, I actually love talking about this because people blow their minds. So the cookware, actually, most cookware has different metals that they're made of, and they're all leaching different chemicals. Nonstick, it is by far the worst. And most people usually have nonstick. They think that it's so great. They're like, oh, but it's non-toxic. It's nonstick. No, they're actually the worst. And it's kind of crazy to think that. I also have a lot of cast iron levers. I actually just got my mother-in-law to get rid of her cast iron because so many people think the cast iron is meant to like give you the right iron. And it's not. It's actually the wrong iron. It causes leaky gut and Alzheimer's, and it goes rancid inside, which is also causing the leaky gut problems. It tastes horrible. Okay. It is absolutely horrible. And then you have like, stainless steel, which basically it's like when they make stainless steel, they throw in all kinds of different metals and crap that's in there. And it's like a big mesh pot of just stainless. You don't really know what you're getting out of it, and then there's aluminum, which is obviously, it's horrible. Like it causes so much brain cells to be gone, all kinds of stuff. So the cookware that I was actually selling was a 316 titanium surgical stainless steel. So it is basically the metal that people put in their bodies because it is non-reactive. It doesn't have a chemical reaction when you heat it up. Everything else has a type of reaction. So it actually affects what you're getting out of your food. It'll kill the nutrients faster. It will leach all these different metals. Whereas the 316 is like the type that you're going to end up, you're fine. Like it's clean, and that's the kind of, and even it changes the taste of your food. Aside of killing the nutrients and the leaching of the metals, it totally changes the taste of your food. It's kind of mind blowing. And I absolutely loved when I learned about it. Like the first time, because when we would do our cooking shows, at the end, we would do a cookware test. And what it was is we would put baking soda and water in each of the cookwares and we'd heat it up. And then you got to taste test it afterwards. I was mind blown at how disgusting everything tasted. I had an array. I had the nonstick. I had the cast iron. I had the stainless steel. I even had the glass because glass actually leaches lead. Like way back in the day, it was more lead that it was made of. And so it was leaching all these different chemicals. But the cookware that I was selling, it was the only thing that still tasted like baking soda water at the end. And I was just like, holy crap. And I also had gotten into it right as I had my brand new baby. So at that time, I'm like, my husband and I are like, how fast do we get this cookware? Because I just cannot even think about spending another day eating out of this cookware. Like, this is disgusting. And it's funny because people now always ask me, they're like, what do you do when you go out? Like, you go out to eat still and you're okay? I'm like, you know what? I bless my food and I put it in the back of my brain. And I always tell myself, I do what we can. That is the most important, is do what you can for your body and your health, the best that you possibly can. I literally am the kind of person, I carry at least, if I don't, like when I come to the States, thankfully, I've left cookware at all of my family's houses. So I know I'm going to get my cookware. But if I wasn't going to my family's houses, I'd be packing one of my cookware, one of my pans into my lining of my clothes. And I'd be packing my Kangen water, which to me on the top of it. Everyone's always like laughing. They're like, you've got, like, you carry that through a check-in? Because even my machine for my water machine, the same thing. They're like, you're carrying that through check-in? I'm like, yes, I'm carrying that through. Oh yeah. And they're like, okay, like you're that kind of person. I'm like, I am that kind of person because I don't carry health insurance. I carry my life insurance is with me right here. And I know how to take care of me, and it's been a journey. I've had 3 blood clots also. So I'm going to put that in perspective a little bit. I've had 3 blood clots in my life. And because of those blood clots, I've been on this health journey because I knew I didn't want to sit on prescription medications my whole life. I was not going to, they told me, they're like, you need to take Coumadin your whole life. And I was like, nope, sorry, I'm not doing it. That's basically eating rat poison for my whole life. And one thing leads to another when it comes to taking prescriptions. Like, I am a firm believer that you start taking one, you'll end up on 5 or 10 by the end of it. Because it all leads to more things. Like, they all have a little thing at the bottom that says, these could cause this side effects, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. Whereas I know and I believe that if we just take the time and we learn and understand and we keep growing in our journey, we'll find what feels good for our bodies and we'll be able to take care of ourselves in the right way because food is medicine. The water is medicine. The right nutrients, the right things that we're giving it and feeding it, and not even just like the food, but like everything, that we're listening to and we're putting in our heads, we're feeding our brains. We're giving our bodies that energy to either thrive or to die. And I'm more about like, let's thrive. Let's make it happen so that everybody's in a good place and we're not just sitting here barely kind of like riding the wave. I don't like to ride the wave. I like to shoot up and just like be like, I'm here. I'm living it.
Amazing. I just want to touch on that kind of point. I suppose you're so great to even mention that literally, again, water is life and food is medicine and so is lifestyle, and combining it into a way that suits you and not being overly paranoid if you are going out or you are going to someone else's house that doesn't have whatever you exactly need on a daily basis, it's kind of literally doing your best is that we always encourage anybody to ever do out the other side of it. And I'm conscious of your time, but if you could give 3 tips for people and listeners to this show, right, to improve, I'm going to say, their overall health in some things that you do or recommend, I'd love that. Just simple tips.
As far as like taking care of yourself, one, get hydrated. And understand when you get hydrated that not all water is equal, because that is something that I really learned, especially having got into the Kangen water business. Not all water is created equal. Like people blow their minds. They're like, well, isn't this water like it's just like aerated water? And I'm like, no, we're talking about molecular hydrogen water. That's going to come to your bloodstream. It's going to heal you. It's going to actually fix things for you and on a whole different level than if you were to just take water from the tap. Or what people are talking about this alkaline water. They're like, oh, I'm going and getting alkaline water. I'm like, this is alkalized water and there's alkaline water. Alkaline water, it's a chemical change. Alkalized water is an electrical change that creates it naturally. Totally different. So understanding that, getting hydrated and having the right water will truly help your body. Aside of the fact that it can actually do so much more than just like by drinking it. I literally just healed my mother-in-law by doing, we did a protocol where I put 11.0 water to 2. The 11, and I'll let you break it down. The 11.0 water was to bring down her inflammation on her legs. We swapped over to a 2.5 to disinfect and kill anything that was going on in her legs. And then we went to a 6.0 to neutralize. And what we did is we use these different pHs of water and we dunk all of them into like towels. And I wrapped her leg with these towels and she'd sit with them for multiple times. This machine is amazing because it literally has 100 uses to cut out so much things out of what we're doing, from laundry detergents to toxins that we're putting in our bodies to drinking water and having to save the water bottles to, getting the pesticides and stuff out of our fruits and vegetables. So much. So definitely dive deep into learning about how to get hydrated the right way, because that has been honestly one of the biggest eye openers throughout my whole life. 2, be open-minded and flexible. Because reality is a lot of people, they think about what they're, doing, but they aren't really flexible to it. And sometimes they may see things that they're like, I want to try this, but they haven't really gone for it. I also, one of the other things that I've been working with, another company I've been even working with it's called knick-knacks, and it's a blood supplement. Finding the right nutrition is really important. This blood supplement basically cleanses the microplastics and the toxins, and it rebuilds the red blood cells. So cleansing your body is so important. And actually, that was one of the things, like, in having watched my mother-in-law and this whole detoxing journey that we just went through, I got to really dive deep and then I got re-inspired. I'm actually, when I go home and I get back on the water, I'm going to do a 3-day water fast Kangen cleanse. So, take those times, maybe once a year, just do a good cleanse for yourself, because it's so important. People forget about how important it is. We constantly are putting things in our bodies. We're putting stuff on our bodies, perfumes, all this kind of different stuff. And it's so, we don't realize. And that those things have a lot of heavy toxic metals in them. And those heavy toxic metals are constantly, they're stacking up on our bodies, and they cause so many issues: depression, anxiety, chronic illnesses, digestive problems, all these things. So really dive deep into learning about heavy toxic metals and the parasites, because those are 2 big things that I'm like, they are huge.
Your third.
And I guess the third would be, we talked about water, we talked about nutrition and blood, and I'd say just really invest in yourself, because that, I think, people don't do enough of. People think oh, I started this one little thing and I'm doing a little bit of it, but they don't realize that sometimes it takes bigger things. Some people are like, oh, I'm paying for life insurance or I'm paying for these things. But the reality is they're not really spending much to really invest to take care of themselves. I've watched a lot of people who they'll buy the most stupidest things, that are ridiculous. But then when someone shows them something that can really change their life, the water or these cookware things, because I'm not going to, I'll be very upfront. They're investments. They're not $20, $50. They're investments. But at the end of the day, the long haul of what it is, that investment it's the investment for your own health. It's for taking that thing that you need, that your body actually needs, and it's giving it to them what it needs. Because people buy, like I said, again, they buy the stupidest things. They buy knick-knacks, clothes, Gucci handbags, all this other crap. And it's like, what the hell is that shit going to do for you? Excuse my language, but like, what is it going to do for you in the long haul? Reality. Like, is it going to help you last and feel the longevity of like actually feeling good at the end of your life? Because if it's not going to help you, then you need to really consider like, what can you invest in to make sure that your body, your mind, and your soul are doing well. I'm going to add one more because I totally didn't even think about saying this, but this is one of my tricks and tips that I absolutely love that keeps my mind in the right place as I'm creating and doing all these things. Breathwork. I love breathwork. It helps my mind. I wake up in the morning and I don't do anything before I go on. It sounds silly, but I'll go on YouTube. I follow this guy called Breathe with Sandy. I've been following him for years. I actually got into breathwork a few years ago, and I did this one trauma transformation one. It was an hour long. It was mind blowing. It literally left me with goosebumps and in the shakes for a while, that my body was just like, it released so much. And I was like, holy smokes. And so since then I've done breath work, and he has he has anywhere from like a 10 to a 20-minute breath work session. And I spend every morning when I wake up, that is the first thing I do, is I do a little breath work before I even get going, because it puts my mind in the right place to set in like, what is my intention for the day? And really just like remember to take that time for me. Because again, if you don't invest in yourself, you're not really going to be in the right headspace. So taking that time to invest and take care of you is really important. And that was one of the things that I adopted over the years. And I always tell people, like, when they're going through things or they're just trying to get their head straight, I'm like, try some breath work. And they're like, what's breath work? And then so I send them this always. And I'm like, go check it out. Like, seriously, it will change your life. And yeah, so those are my biggest tips.
This is your top 3 that turned into a top 4. I absolutely love it, because we could literally talk to you all day, and I certainly will after this and in the DMs as well. But I'm going to say, Danielle, where's the best place for people to reach out to you and get in contact with you? Do you have a website? Do you have a social media page that you want to mention here, and I'll expand on that?
Yeah, so I'm on a couple platforms. Mostly I spend my time between either Instagram or Facebook. I'm on Instagram as legacy_through motherhood, or I'm on Facebook as Danielle Marie Vandehei. So those are like the 2 best places to usually get in touch with me. I am on TikTok, but it's like, it's an off and on kind of thing. I keep trying to get my head in the space for it, because I feel like it can be a good platform, but it's just, I don't know. Sometimes you have those vibes to which one do I really want to put my energy in? Those are the 2 that I've been doing. So
with fair play to you for being on it in itself, and I'll put all those in the show notes so people can really click and go directly over to any one that they want to. I tell you, Danielle, you're a powerhouse of a woman. I really appreciate your time, and not only that, most of your energy that you gave to this podcast. And I always end these shows by saying, stay tuned, stay classy, and get on that good stuff.